Hi friends, this is Mainak Misra and welcome back to my channel. Today I will discuss with you one of the most important and impactful crime thrillers of all time, Memories of Murder, directed by Bong Joon-ho. Bong Joon-ho's Memories of Murder is one of the most important, impactful, influential crime thrillers of all time. The film is based on South Korea's first serial murders that shook the country in the late 1980s. However, the country was being ruled by the military dictator Chun Do-hwan during that time. There was no proper investigation or justice system in the country. Everything was messy. Before murdering the women, the serial killer sexually abused and raped the victims. As the investigation and justice systems were messy, the detectives were not able to catch the criminal at that point of time. They were able to catch him, or rather, they got his confession. He was caught in 1994, but nobody knew that he was the person behind those murders. The confession was obtained in 2019. So more than 30 years have passed, and then the world came to know that Lee Chun-jae was the person behind those horrific crimes. Filmmaker Bong Joon-ho shows those horrific murders, rapes of innocent women in Memories of Murder in a grotesque way, keeping a critical eye on country's military dictatorship during that time. The film starts on 23rd October 1986 when a detective named Do-man comes to investigate double rapes and murders in a rural area near a small town. However, there is no proper investigation system. So everything is messy. So these detectives catch innocent civilians and forcibly obtain their confession. Duman's assistant Cho is a kickmaster. At first they arrest a physically weak and mentally retarded boy named Kwang Ho. Then a more knowledgeable detective, Tae-yoon, who possesses much more knowledge regarding modern interrogation technique and equipment, agrees to investigate this crime and appears there. He comes there. He immediately realizes that it is impossible for a physically weak and mentally retarded person like Kwang Ho to commit such a heinous crime. But Duman and Cho, they rehearse fabricated dialogues with him, and then they take him to the crime spot for recreating the crime scene. across the vast paddy field. But when he goes there, his father appears and he breaks down in tears. Then he is allowed to leave. They all understand in front of the national media. Media is everywhere at that time, that he is not the killer. He can't be the killer. But Tae-woon, he thoroughly researches, thoroughly analyzes both the murders, and he concludes that the serial killer strikes only on rainy nights and attacks women wearing red clothes. Female investigation officer Miss Kwon concludes that a single song, the same song, Sad Later, was played at the nearest radio station on both the nights of the murders. And then the serial killer strikes again. Taeyoon, Dooman, and Cho come to that crime scene, that crime spot, and they wait the next day for the criminal to come, because generally, criminals tend to return to the crime spot, and they see a man masturbating there. After an immense chase, they arrest him from the nearby gypsum mine, and they recognize him by his red underwear. As usual, Duman and Cho get his confession by force. Forcibly, they torture him and then get his confession. But his version of the story, the crime, does not fit the real story. But he mentions that a serial killer comes out of the outhouses on the school campus. The same narrative was mentioned to Taewoon by a schoolgirl. Then Taewoon immediately visits that school campus, and he comes to know that the recent victim of the serial killer stays up the nearby hill. He gets her version recorded, and she categorically mentions that the serial killer has soft hands. He returns and touches that arrested man's hands, and those are hard because he's a mine worker. So he immediately realizes that this person cannot be the murderer, and he releases him. Then an intense fight breaks out between Duman and Taeyoon. And suddenly they all realize that it's raining, and the same song Sad Later is being played at the nearest radio station. That means the serial killer is about to strike again. And it happens. That killer rapes and kills a woman. Then Miss Kwon tracks down his address, from that postcard that he sent to the radio station requesting that song to be played. His name is Hyungyu. Then they arrest him and they start torturing. His hands are also soft. That intensifies Taeyoon's suspicion that this guy can be the serial killer. But apart from soft hands, there is no other evidence. Then Tae-woon and Do-man rehear Kwang-ho's audio, confession audio, and they come to a conclusion that Kwang-ho must have seen the serial killer. They immediately come to the restaurant run by his father. But Kwang-ho becomes afraid. The experience that he had earlier with these guys, he becomes afraid and escapes by running and gets run over by a speeding train. Semen sample is found on the clothes of the recent victim, and those are sent to USA for DNA test. The serial killer strikes again, and this time he kills that schoolgirl whom Tae-yoon met earlier. And he becomes extremely, utterly enraged, and he severely beats up Hyung-gu beside a tunnel. And that time Do-man arrives there with the test report that has reached Korea from USA, and that DNA sample does not match with Hyung-gu's DNA. Tae-yoon becomes extremely frustrated. He has disbelief, he can't believe that. Then he points his gun towards Hyung-gu, and that time Do-man slightly pushes his hand when he is about to raise the trigger. Hyung-gu is saved and is allowed to leave. However, it is not shown categorically whether he is the real serial killer or not. Then the film fast forwards to 2003. Do-man is no longer a detective. He is a father, a businessman. While passing through that area, he stops by and looks at the crime spot. And that time a girl, a schoolgirl behind him, informs him that she has seen a man there before. Then Do-man asks her, "Now, what does he look like?" And she replies, "The man looks like an ordinary man." And then Do-man stares into the camera. This is the story. Bong Joon-ho shows few important points in Memories of Murder. He shows that a dictator cannot have all the qualities to run a country. It is not possible. So there will be mess everywhere, just like in criminal investigation and justice system. There is no proper system. Confessions are obtained from innocent civilians. Everything is messy. Everything was messy during that time. That actually happened. Can you believe in the first scene, children are seen playing with victims' clothes? Just like they are indifferent. They don't feel any remorse. They don't feel that pain. That means now, they have seen so much crime, murder, that they are indifferent now. Bong shows the sad state of affairs during that time, when even children can be indifferent to a heinous crime. They are the most soft-hearted, but their hearts have become hard, rigid, as if they don't feel that pain. Just imagine how difficult the life was during that time. Bong clearly shows the terrible situation under Chun Doo-hwan's military dictatorship in South Korea during that time. The film shows so many things. Can you remember that scene when the serial killer lifts a woman and takes her to the nearby jungle, and one by one the lights get switched off? The area gets filled with never-ending darkness. One by one shops get shut down. The doors in the houses get closed, and taking that advantage, the serial killer rapes and murders that innocent woman. Bong clearly shows all these incidents that happened during that time. So you can imagine how difficult lives were in the late 1980s, early 1990s. The last scene carries much significance. When Duman asks her, the girl, how does or what does the that man look like? And she clearly tells that he looks like an ordinary man. Yes, all the criminals, they don't come from some far off planet. They eat like us, they stay like us, they talk like us, they roam around like us. And behind that normalcy lie the monsters who commit heinous crimes like rapes and murders and don't feel a bit of remorse, a bit of pain, a bit of agony in their hearts. So, this film has so many terrifying incidents. Now, talking about different departments, the direction, this is Bong's second film. Can you imagine? This is just his second film. And it looks like a film made by a film veteran. So he is a great filmmaker, craftsman. There is no denying. He wanted to make the film like Korean crime dramas in olden days and not the typical Hollywood style crime drama, plot driven crime drama. That's the reason Memories of Murder looks so natural and original, so fresh, so crude. And even though the film is about rapes and murder, but Bong does not exploit the bodies of women for commercial purpose. He shows women in positive light. Miss Kwon, who tracks down the address of Hyung-go, concludes that serial killer strikes when the same song was played at the nearest radio station. So she contributes greatly to this narrative. The schoolgirl, who is the most vivid eyewitness, is also a woman. So Bong shows women in positivity, in positive light. He does not exploit, those rapes or murdering scenes, their bodies. He doesn't do that. and he creates that spine chilling effect on the screen. Now talking about the screenplay, that is also, Bong is also the screenplay writer, is detailed, thorough, meticulous, very well written, covers the agony that the victims went through during that time. It covers in detail. Even though initially the screenplay sounds little comical, humorous, but in the second half it is utterly serious. Actors, two-man character is played by Song Kang-ho. His comical acting enriches the film greatly. As a serious detective, Tae-yoon, Kim Sang-kyung does a brilliant job. All the actors, all the cast members, all the actors have delivered outstanding performances. And Bong brilliantly executes ensemble staging instead of cutting one actor to another for capturing the dialogues. And when all the actors are shown in ensemble staging, then everybody gets the focus. Everybody is focused, everybody's dialogue, is captured at the same point of time. And it creates much more focus on the entire scene. And you can see when, the investigation bureau chief, then Taeyoon, Duman, Joe, everybody they come to a restaurant. That ensemble staging scene is just brilliant. Bong did not do much rehearsal for this film. He wanted to have that natural and organic effect. Even when Duman kicks Taeyoon in the when they meet for the first time, that is the first time when Song Kang-ho and Kim Sang-kyung they met. That's the first time they met. So you can imagine that raw and first time effect that was created on the screen. That's because of he did not do much rehearsal. He wanted to have that, that freshness on the screen. Cinematography is just brilliant, and Hyun Koo, cinematographer, Bong and the cinematographer went for bleach bypass process to have that dull, bleak, look of the film. Actually, it is multiple times it was raining in the scene, and that dull, bleak look they actually achieved through that bleach bypass process. And they waited for, they did not shoot until it rained. So they actually captured that rain effect through original rain. That's why the film looks so original. There is a fantastic, extremely skilled tracking shot when Kwang Ho is taken to the crime spot for recreating the incident. And then his father appears there and he breaks down in tears. A brilliant tracking shot. There are multiple scenes which were captured through handheld cinematography, especially when the serial killer strikes. That is, that creates through, handheld cinematography spine chilling effect. So entire cinematography is just brilliant. Editing, so if cinematography is very dynamic, then editing has to be dynamic. And Sun Min's editing was dynamic. The attacking and chasing scenes were edited incredibly skillfully. Brilliant work. Taro Yasuro's music creates such an intense impact on viewers' mind that they remember multiple scenes through music long after watching the film. So everything, all the departments, wrong direction, then screenplay, acting, cinematography, editing, everything was, brilliant, just brilliant. That's all about the film. I think you have seen Memories of Murder. It was released in 2003. These are incredibly brilliant film, Bong's second work, and you know him for Parasite. But see this film, as I mentioned earlier, that it is one of the most important, influential, and impactful crime thrillers of all time. You cannot miss this. So please see this film if you have seen, and then you can put any comment down below, and let me know if you want me to review any film, to analyze any film, your request. I can do that. Keep supporting my channel. Press the bell icon, subscribe, press the bell icon so that you do not miss regular updates. And thank you for watching this video. Thank you and bye.